We got a special fighter in the kid live from Inside MMA.
All that talking in the background, Kenny Price, and we got Bas Rutten, who is a legend. It's very exciting for me. You know how I love the legends, Bas Rutten. I don't think I truly think I'm going to say is I think you're probably one of the toughest people to ever be born in a lot of ways.
He's up there.
He really is. I mean, he's such a ridiculous athlete. I always tell the story. I was kicking the bag one time at Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu with my Taekwondo kicks, with the top of my bony foot, by the way. And I heard what sounded like a gun going off. And Mr. Bas Rutten was attacking the bag with one of those leg kicks that he's known for. And it really, truly, like, you ever see the open ocean when you're on a boat and it's dark and it starts to chop up and you go, man, I feel so small. I feel so diminutive. Like, I feel like, I'd hate to be out in this water alone. As he was kicking that bag, I literally felt that way. I was like, I can't imagine having to deal with that.
I think you realize how tough Bas is, how much respect because you guys deal with fighters all the time. The toughest guys in the world come through here, and there's no ego. I think when everyone sees Bas, they check their egos at the door. Yeah. I've seen two guys like this in my lifetime. This is real talk. Bas Rutten and Mike Ditka. When I was at ESPN, everyone was slouching in their chair, and Mike Ditka walked in. Everyone sat up. Yeah. Everyone sat up and like attention. I see the same thing with Bas and fighters. Yeah. As soon as you walk in, it's just like, oh man, what's up?
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
Yeah.
You put yourself.
Because he could snap all of our necks.
Well, he was just saying, and you'll talk about this. You never really turned down a fight. You just didn't even know you could really turn down fights.
No, it was the craziest thing. I had 3 more fights on my contract in Japan on Pancras. And then the guys came in after the fight, the organization, and they said to a certain fighter, hey, listen, you fight so-and-so next time. And he goes, nah, I want to give me somebody else. And they go like, okay, what about this guy? He said, let me think. And I'm standing there like, whoa. You can say no?
Amazing.
I always say yes. I would never say no because it shows weakness. It's like these guys when they weigh in. Now, we had open weight class at the time. But people go like, oh, the guy's 2 pounds over. Oh, 2 pounds. I would throw it the other way around. I would look at the fighter 2 pounds overweight and say, keep it. You're going to need it. Yeah. Don't lose the weight. Yeah. That has mentally way more effect on a fighter than say, okay, take it off. You got to take it off. That, to me, that shows weakness.
Well, I think that one of the greatest things, and one of the reasons you stayed so relevant and people always talk about you in such glowing terms, is that you had such a competitive mindset. And in a lot of ways, it always felt like you never took anything too seriously. Like, as bad as you were, I never saw, and I've seen so many of your fights, and you fought killers, and you never really seemed to be nervous, and in fact, you always looked like you basically looked in a fight the way you do right now doing a podcast. And where does that come from?
Were you nervous though, Bas? Because you don't look like it. You were never nervous.
I was nervous in Holland in my Thai boxing, because it was crazy and the audience. I truly believe that Japan totally changed me. I really had no. I was almost, one time they had to call me for a fight. They said, dude, you're up like the next fight. I was playing on my Game Boy, and I was not even in clothes. I go, really? What, 2 fights? I got to warm up.
What?
I really,
that's what? Nuts, man.
Now, what you do is, I'm really honest to myself always. This is what I do. I say, if nerves would creep up, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Going to get knocked out? Well, they say you're not going to feel it. So you're going to submit it, you tap. Okay, what is really the worst thing that can happen? With good matchmaking, that will never happen. The worst thing will be a guy totally destroying you, and every time, just before you go down, he steps back, he says, no, take your time, get back up. But that won't happen with good matchmaking. So there is nothing really to be scared of. And also the moment, you know this, even when you would be nervous, you go to the cage, at the moment they say fight, with me it goes like, I'm in like a bubble, and everything is gone. And I can hear everybody talking on the side. I would tell people on the first row later, I would go back to them, hey, you should stay away from that guy. You see, like 2 girls were talking or something, and they go, what the... And I listened always to their corner. My biggest example I always
You would listen to their corner?
Always. Wow. Because my corner, I never had a trainer. I never had a ground coach. I taught everything myself. My manager was in my corner. So I would listen to their corner. I'm fighting against TK in the UFC, and Maurice Smith stands there, and I just told my corner, give me the time. When I have 1 minute left, I'm going to knock him out. Big John McCartney hears me talking about this, and I look, and Big John is looking at me, and he goes, yeah, right, and he goes, 1 minute, and I start going in the attack. I want to give him a high kick, And Maurice sees it because he's a striker.
Yeah.
And he goes, watch out for a high kick. And right away I go, boom, right straight.
Oh,
And then I dropped him.
You knew that Maurice. You're talking about Maurice.
Maurice Smith.
Yeah, Maurice Smith.
Yeah.
You knew
From
that he
Denver.
would. You knew that he would tell his fighter that, and that's how you faked it.
Watch out for that. And then
Wow.
I knocked him out. And then Big John, I remember afterwards he came to the hotel room. He gave me his shirt that he was wearing in the ring. He says, dude, I never heard anything like this before. I heard you tell your corner you're going to knock him out. He says, on the money. So, but just be honest to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you do that, if you don't care about other people, you should always put yourself at the number one spot. I fight for me. No, I fight for my family. Bullshit. You fight for yourself. And if you truly fight for yourself and don't care what other people think about you, then you're going to win. You're most relaxed. And then your family automatically going to be taken care of because you
But
fight the best.
dilate on that for a second, because when you say I fight for me, there are different ways to look at it. For example, are you saying when you say I fight for me, are you saying that essentially what you were trying to do is you were trying to surprise yourself with what you were doing, always trying to improve? Were you trying to surprise yourself with what you could do? What do you mean by fight for me?
Fight for me is I don't fight for the audience. I don't fight for anybody else. I don't keep your rip his head off. Do this. These people in my dressing room, they're going to be kicked out by me right away. There's no violence. We crack jokes in the dressing room. We have fun. If you can't do that shit, get out of my dressing room.
You keep it light.
Keep it light. Always keep. I never believed in tension and aggression. Never. Come. That's why you're never in the corner.
doesn't
You
help
never
you in a
see me
fight.
jumping up and doing this. I'm just always waiting. I'm warmed up, dude. I just did 12 rounds. Nobody does 12 rounds in 2 minutes on the Thai pads in the dressing room. My guys would go like, what the hell are you doing? I said, I want to get my second win before I come in. I was always in crazy shape. That was the one thing I always made sure of, is the number one priority. Be in shape. It's your job. Can't stand people who run out of shape.
Is there
Out of gas.
anybody that you watch now, having taken all comers as you did? Is there anybody you watch in today's game that you sit back and say, I wouldn't want to fight that guy, or I wouldn't know how to fight that guy?
I always, and they told me about Fedor at the time in his prime, I always thought, I would love to fight him just to see if I could make the fucking fight to go the distance with him. It was because he would take me down. My takedown defense was never really good. Going for submission on Fedor is not going to work, so you got to keep him in the guard, but he was very powerful in the guard. Can I keep blocking his punches, just to see if I can go. On the feet, I know I can beat him. I know he's really good, and I know, but, I train with the best guys in Holland, and I know he trained with those guys also in Holland. I know,
You know the game, yeah.
Yeah. So, but what he would be is he's very good at aiming. He's very accurate, and he doesn't load up a punch. Like when you watch the fight against Brett Rogers, the way he knocks him out, that is such a beauty. You see his hand is here still, and then from this moment he goes boom and knocks him out. There's no load up, no nothing, and he was really good at that. And he's still one of my top
Like he
favorites.
did with Arlovsky.
Yeah.
But Arlovsky also, one
Arlovsky
shot.
goes in for the knee,
one
and that's
shot.
it. It was one shot. It was over.
Is he your favorite fighter? Who are your favorite
Yeah,
fighters?
I would say it would be Fedor, Sakuraba. I always loved
Sakuraba's
Sakuraba.
yeah.
Oh man, and Jose Aldo. I really like Jose Aldo, but now Showtime Pettis. I like the guys who can knock you out or submit you. I'm so proud of my record. I always say, I came in as a striker, and at the end I got 14 submissions and 12 knockouts.
Incredible.
You see, and only 3 decisions. So I love that. Wherever the fight goes, you make a mistake. I try to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I never saw your face change. You'd be on your back. I think it was Randleman who had you on, and everybody. When we saw that fight, I watched that with Joe Rogan, and we were so taken by your ability to remain completely calm, keep him in your guard, and use those elbows in his head, and you ended up winning.
Yeah,
it was
a hard fight. The first 4 minits, he really did a number.
But you never let it. You never saw it on your face.
No. That's again. There's a lot of acting going on in fighting. An example that I always use: my first fight in Japan. Right, there were 8 counts at that time in Pancras. So I come out, I give the guy a high kick and a palm strike. He's taller than me, and the guy goes down. I hit him hard. But he gets up, and I go like, okay. So at the moment he goes down, every other fighter, what they do, they run to their corner because they know that as the moment they touch the corner, that's when they start counting. So they want to give the fighter as the least amount of recovery time. I play it the other way around. I knock him down, I would look over him, and then I would very slowly walk to my corner. But I know he's not watching me, so he's thinking, this guy doesn't care. You see, I think emotional things have way more impact. If I see a guy dropping me and I go down, he runs to his corner, I go, he's afraid. Yeah. That's what the first thing that I would think. So try reverse psychology. A lot of acting going on.
A lot of acting going on, and you were always very. But what about you? Talked a little bit about when we weren't podcasting. You talked a little bit about how crazy you were when you were younger.
Yeah.
What was? I have very rarely met fighters, with the exception probably of Brendan, whose parents hugged the crap out of him. But most fighters came from a pretty rough background, some kind of a wound, some kind of a thing that turned them into beasts. And then, in fact, as you talked about as well, you come in there swinging and you're fighting with anger, but to get to higher levels, you got to confront that anger, learn how to control yourself, and master your emotions and master yourself. What was your childhood like?
My parents are very conservative. They don't like any fighting. They're very, my mother's the head in their county of the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation. It's like a nature foundation. My father's a bookkeeper. It's very normal. My brother's a lawyer. I was always the outcast, ADD, got kicked off a lot of schools, because I was the class clown, because I had asthma and real bad eczema in my face and my hands, everywhere. So the kids were always bullying me. I was always the outcast,
Wow.
But then when PE came and dodgeball would be played, I would always be the first one they picked. But then afterwards, nobody would want to hang out with me. So always talking. I always say words are worse than a beating. And a beating they could never do. Because even when I was sick, I never lost a street fight. Because I just grabbed the guy by the head, start shaking until he says, stop.
Just a beast.
Just a bully. Boss the
an
bully beast.
untrained Bas Rutten might be worse.
Horrible.
With eczema all over his skin. He's angry. He's got no attention span.
I climbed trees.
Get this red guy off me.
I had no friends, so I had a forest back at my house, a big forest. I would go there was a big grass field leading into the forest, and there was a row of trees. I could climb in the first row, from tree to tree to tree to tree. Then I had to jump on a horse stable. Then there were no trees for a little bit, but then the first tree I would hit, I would pretty much go through the whole forest. And nobody could do it, because I start swinging and they go to the other tree. And bullies, when they would come, they would always come in packs, of course. They would, one tried one time, and he fell, and he almost died. So nobody had the balls to come after me anymore. But I truly believe that's where I all developed everything.
And I should mention that I now seeing you with a tucked-in shirt, you look like you are in fighting shape.
Like he's going to fight tomorrow.
And I'm not kidding. I've not seen a difference in your body. Usually pro athletes after a while get a little.
They let themselves go.
Like Brendan Schaub on the off season when he eats candy. But you literally haven't. I know you have a little issue with your arm, but for the most part, you look like you lift weights all day, and you don't even lift weights.
I feel like you could have stepped in and fought DC if we needed to. If Cummings could have done it, you could have done it.
With his arm, that would be a problem. I'm blessed with freaking genetics. I can eat what I want. I can be laying in bed for 2 months. I won't lose a pound. I won't gain a pound. That's it. My brother has the same. My youngest daughter has the same also. They're just genetics.
How many kids total?
3 daughters.
All 3 daughters.
3 daughters. He says so much testosterone that nature.
That's what they say.
They
say guys with high testosterone get females.
Yeah.
Funny, you can protect them, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
When Dad's Bas Rutten, that can be an issue. She's going to have her work cut out for her finding a tougher.
Boss, so then you started training guys, right? Mm-hmm. You started training guys like Kimbo Slice. You started training Kimbo Slice, which he's doing what? Boxing now? Is he still boxing? Because you guys are called boxing too, right? Kenny, you call boxing.
He's not fighting at the boxing level I call.
No, yeah. He's just doing local.
He's over here behind the Staples Center in an alley.
He's at Billy's Bar and Grill fight night.
Yeah, fight night. He's doing that.
Yeah.
Not Kimbo's an athlete. I don't know. You train him. But
Brian will say this term athlete a lot. Like me and Brian will watch fights together and go, "This guy's an athlete." And I always tell Brian, I go, "Check yourself," because Boss was really like the first hybrid, really athlete, track and field, all this, and then goes to fighting, and that just tearing through guys because he's a different type of athlete.
Yeah, but
not every fighter
also you're a football player, and you can fight.
And discipline. To me, I think to be an athlete, you got to know discipline as well. That's what makes the whole package. You can't just have that raw physical ability. That's going to help. But you name me one good athlete out there that isn't halfway smart also.
Well,
they can put their focus in.
I asked Brendan, I said, if you could have done it over, would you have wrestled in high school or college, and would you have done more striking? He said, actually, the fact that he played football on such a high level taught him how to compete, how to be a competitor, and gave him that mindset, which it sounds like you took from track and field and things as well.
You know what? I can't stand losing. You whatever you play with me, cards, whatever. I can say now I'm over it because I'm 48 years old.
That's not true, by the way. He's not over it. Keep going.
But on the street, I would. I'm going to be very hard to handle, and I don't care about how many people. Always, I have this thing in my mind. If I'm right in my right, which I always am, because I will never pick a fight. I always try to avoid it, and once they keep pushing. They get me with 5. I don't care. Then I just go and I'll see what happens.
There's no way guys downtown LA see Bas Rutten. Even 5 of them let's go beat that guy up. That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, well, you have knuckleheads who don't know me.
Have you ever had a guy pick a fight with you in a bar?
The last one, I had a few, but I have a really good way of talking to them and explain to them what my profession is. At first, I asked them about their profession.
A little protocol.
Well, I work in construction. I say, construction, yeah. Okay. I say, well, I train with professional fighters. Like no boxers, no kickboxers, fighters. Professional guys every day, 2-3 times a day. So the chances that you, with your construction, are going to beat me are very, very low. Now, I don't want to fight you. So let's not fight. I said, but if you do want to fight me, you are going to lose. And nobody will pick the fight.
And he's got tattoos on his palms, which I've never seen.
No, me neither.
I've never seen. That's when you know you're like, wait a minute, something's going on with this guy.
Yeah, because you get palm struck to the face.
That's it. They always say, well, what does this mean? I say, if you can't read this, you're too close.
Now, do you think guys could adapt and use that palm strike today?
MMA? The dumbest thing, what people are not doing, is not throwing clotheslines and palm strikes. If you really think about this, right? If the target is here and a left hook, right straight combination, it's a stupid combination because if you connect, you're too close for your straight punch. Now, if I hit like I was hitting with here, and especially with those wraps around that they have now, like a palm strike, now you line up way better for that straight punch.
So it's more of like an open hand palm strike.
That's it. And you want to be open. You hit also, I hit behind the ear. I do a clothesline, then I'm going to liver shot, and then I go over the top. I swing my arm down in your neck. Dude, if I do this on a back, you freak out. The whole back folds around my arm, It goes so hard. You can do this. It'll go behind your defense in the back of your ear. I have no clue why people don't do it.
That's crazy.
Like knees to the thighs. Everybody goes like, I go, really? Nobody has the back and loads up all the way and keep distance. So everybody throws their hips in. Never throw your hips in. It's like me closing the distance while I'm punching. It makes no sense. If you just let the kneecap work, my guy was 180 pounds. He fought a 400-pound guy. This was at the time when I was at the Indian casinos. And he was, oh, God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I said, it's easy, dude. It's a cage. Don't worry about it. You close the distance. Get on his back. He had trouble going around the guy's waist, so he was holding his shirt. Wow. I said, just knee the hamstrings, but keep your hips away. I think he gave him 3, 4, 5 knees. 5 was over. Guy dropped, climbed on top, but good knees. Solid knees. Yeah. But nobody does that. Yeah. Side mount. If you grab a leg and you really load up, and then a knee to the thigh, it's 10 times worse than a low kick because he doesn't see it coming and the muscle is relaxed. Yeah. It goes straight through.
God. You told me that you kicked a guy in the leg one time and you could feel your shin bone hit his bone in his thigh.
In his thigh, yeah. That's the moment when you know that they weren't flexing. It's like when you give a body shot. When I split Delucia's liver one time with a liver shot.
You split his liver?
Yeah, he was pissing blood afterwards. I hit him, and I didn't even feel that I hit him. I just go through the whole muscles. He was breathing in at the moment.
That's a disaster.
Yeah, once you breathe in, my claim to fame also, I really like this always, because for my second fight, I was very sick in Japan. They let me travel 8 hours on the day of the fight. I didn't sleep because the jet lag from Holland is nighttime is daytime. So 7 o'clock in the morning you fall asleep, woke me up at 8, travel till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's crazy. Let me check in the hotel straight to, I couldn't carry my luggage anymore. I was throwing up. I wanted to quit, and I heard the people go for him. Full guys, I thought, I'm not going to quit, and I get there. Then I get him in a headlock, and I pull his triceps to the side, and I see him breathing. Boom, I give him a knee. Ow. I go, man, I timed his freaking breathing. I was so proud of myself.
But you're a very intelligent fighter. I mean, that's a huge part of it, is being intelligent enough as an athlete.
Well, if you know when it's weak, you will be stupid not to do it.
Boss, would you train like we do now? You have training camps, or were you just always training? Because the old school mentality, you just trained all the time, you sparred all the time.
Yep. I talked to one time to a top fighter, I don't want to mention his name, and he said he sparred one time a week on Fridays, and it would go like 75%. I started laughing, and he goes, what? I said, how many times you do? I say 2 times a day. We'll blast. I won't knock you out to the face. Well, I will fucking liver hunting, and I will go for body shots and low kicks. Everything is hard, But I had real control also. As soon as I would kick and I see a defense not the defense coming up, I could redirect the kick. So we never got hurt.
You never got hurt.
But
and who are your training partners? I know Marco Rua was your partner. Olev
Taktarov, I rolled it only a few times when he helped me out for some fights here.
Yeah.
I had one training partner in Holland for 80% of my fights. And
You could depend on him all the time.
all the time. I would come back from partying, and I would think about a crazy submission. I would call him at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, say, go to the gym. He would always go, and we would roll in the middle of the night.
You still talk to him?
Yeah, still talk to
A
him.
lot of it was your obsession. You were obsessed with fighting.
Obsessed. My wife got crazy. I would submit her in the middle of the night because I dreamt the submission. I had postage through the whole house. You know what a really cool story is? That BJ Penn called me one time when I didn't know him, and he was fighting Matt Hughes. He was going to take a run, he said. I said, BJ? Yeah. He said, BJ Penn. I said, oh, why are you calling me? He says, I'm watching your instructional DVDs. He says, I say, so? He says, the best instruction I've ever seen. Was your ground coach? I said, nobody. I taught myself the ground. And I do all these hand control things. Everybody grabs wrist. I always grab hands so they can rotate. All these little tiny things. He says, man, it's freaking amazing. I go, wow. And he wanted to hang up and said, no, can I use that quote?
That's when BJ Penn calls you and tells you that you've got the best instruction.
I heard you would put down tape on the floor to work on your footwork in your house.
In my whole house were 2 lines to every room on the floor, shoulder width.
Yeah.
And I would walk on there if I would go to the kitchen. Oh, I had little strings coming down with clothespins and then a little post-its on it. And I will be hitting those.
Wow.
I would, take it to the next level.
Talk a little bit about how difficult it is to go from fighting on the level that you fought on and then stopping, because you have to stop eventually. You're 48 now.
What happened was, first of all, when you said, were you always in shape? People don't realize my first year in Pancras, I fought 9 fights. The next year, I think I fought 9 fights as well. That was a crazy thing. We would party for 3 days, get totally crazy, one day rest, start training again. And when I stopped was because of tendonitis. I had tendonitis in both arms, which was really weird because I had that also when I was a kid at javelin. I couldn't throw anymore. And with high jump, I had like only 3 jumps, so I had to start like high, like 6'2" would be my first high jump because I had only a couple of jumps in me, and that was my knees were always hurting. And that came back. Tendonitis came back later in my career, and then training became hell.
It became hell.
Yeah, but it is so painful. You have no clue how much pain this comes from the inside out. And once it starts, and you're still 4 weeks left for a fight, that means 2 times a day. I can only train, and I don't know why this is 45 minutes on the clock, and then it hits. So you got 45 minutes to go crazy as you can. Then it hits, and then you're in pain for an hour and a half, like insane pain. Mm-hmm. I would lose weight from the pain. I couldn't eat.
Do you think that, Bas, is because you were training so much? That's why you had these injuries. Let's say you took 2 months after a fight. You took 2 months off and rested.
It was. I think when I was a kid, I was so sick they chocked me full with cortisones. Because at that time they didn't know the side effects of cortisone. So all my tendons and my bones, they say it will be affected by it. And when I hit a back, it would always be when I hit a heavy back. Yeah. So never hit a heavy back. I always say, make it a little lighter back, and it would click, and I would put a little ping, and then I know, now it's going to happen. No. Or I would wrestle. I muscle myself out of an armbar, like really tight armbar, wrestle, I click, and the same thing. And the last year and a half, I got it in both arms. And then, dude, every day, 2 times a day. It's not fun anymore. No.
Is there a sport besides fighting that you wished you'd been a professional at?
I was a big Bruce Jenner. I wanted to become the Dutch Bruce Jenner at the time because he was the Olympic gold medalist when I was young.
Wow.
I was really looking up to that. I really like track and field. Yeah, I really like that. But it already started there. The pain. That's why also.
Was it when you realized you couldn't fight because of the pain? Did you have an idea what you wanted to do? Did you know you wanted to get into?
You know what? I got some guardian angels going on who direct me, and everything just falls in me.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching at the Pride. I'm training Mark Kerr and Marco Huas. They're fighting at the Pride show, and the video was on in the dressing room, right? You're watching the fights that are going on at the time. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I say, oh, watch this. He's got an armbar. And it's right arm. Check this out. And everybody looks and they go, like, in 10 seconds later, boom, he's got the armbar. And they go, how do you know? I say, well, you can see the setup, right? Then the next fight was, I believe it was Carlos Newton against Sakuraba. I go, oh, he's going to roll him into a knee bar. And whoop, it rolls him in a knee bar. And that's how they say, hey, did you ever do commentating? No. You want to try? Because they were in the room. That's how I felt. I was so green. I always tell this to the people. When I came for the first show, that was the show that Horace Gracie fought Sakuraba, was going to be broadcast to the States. And I was standing there in my shorts, my flip-flops, and I had a Hawaiian shirt. And they go, where's your suit? And I go, what suit? I did not know that you needed a suit to commentate. They had to
Looked like
make
he was
this
on
whole
a
new
beach
opening.
vacation.
In a way, I feel like Bas should always be.
I'm surprised
in
he
a
wouldn't say
Hawaiian
anything.
shirt,
I'm
right.
surprised he
I
wouldn't say
feel like
anything.
if
Fuck
anybody
it.
can get away with that, it'd be Bas
fuck it.
Rutten.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
so
like, it's the Bas Rutten
Right.
clause. A Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops? Yeah, he's Bas Rutten. He's allowed to.
And then you two started working together.
That's the thing. The IFL came along. And then the IFL, we started working together. And then Mark Cuban had an idea that he wanted to do a show. And we already worked together. I was first the coach, but then they wanted me to become like the guy from the IFL, the host or whatever. And then with Kenny and I, we started working, clicked right away. And then they asked Kenny if he was interested. And I always thought it was not going to happen. It was really weird. And suddenly they say, no, it's really on. You and Kenny and Ron Crook.
You guys are a great pair, actually.
Thanks.
You guys do a
We
great
started
job.
in 2003. I started working when it was HD Net. Because Daryl Ewalt, who's become a very good friend of mine, is executive producer of HD Net, now Access. And he brought me in. I was calling football, basketball, and boxing. And we weren't even doing MMA, of course. And then I guess around 06 or so, he started getting into a little MMA, doing some WEC stuff. And Mark Cuban saw the advantage. A lot of young people were getting into MMA. And a lot of guys were doing basketball and football and all kind of ran together. But except for the UFC, there was like nobody else out there doing a lot of the regional stuff back then. And so we were. And then after we did that, and then Bas and I had done the International Fight League together, just because I'd worked with a guy at NBC and a guy at ESPN. They brought me in. And then my buddy Daryl Ewalt calls me one day and he goes, hey, guess what? Kenny Rice is the new host of the new show Inside MMA. And I said, really? He said, yes. And I said, okay. And he said, Bas is doing it. I said, okay, I'm there. I figure, hey, I got Bas doing it, so there's a piece of cake. And Daryl's one of the best producers I've ever worked with on any level. And Mark Cuban's had a pretty good success record. So, I figure with those three guys, I'm in on it.
Yeah,
so
and Ron is the roving reporter.
Is there something that the UFC has been, and MMA has some challenges in terms of whether or not, especially the UFC, which has and I think it's a stated policy where they make the UFC the star and not the fighters as much. Most leagues, the NFL and NBA, they don't have that policy. In fact, what they do is they realize that people tune in to watch human beings.
Yep.
Do you think the UFC could be doing something different to make, because they have a challenge. They have to put on a lot of fights. They got a lot of fighters on their roster, so it's a tough thing for them. But really, there are marquee players, and and Fertitta was talking about the fact that, look, when our guys get injured, it's hard to get people to tune in to just the average journeyman.
You make it not personal. Look at the Pride Fighting Championships. They were freaking stars, these guys. They would show a 15-minute highlight reel of Mirko Krokop and Fedor.
Sakuraba.
You're like, whoa. And they wouldn't show that piece in America. And I go like, are you crazy? You would see Mirko train, and then you would see in the highest technology things, he would clean bags, clean everything, and then Fedor with the rusty kettlebells and running in the snow.
Yeah.
And then back to Krokop sitting at the father's grave, and then you saw a river with corpses driving in there, like from the war. I mean, dude, I was sitting there in shock. When Krokop came up for that fight, he was crying. You just saw tears in his eyes. It was the wildest thing, and I go, why do not they
It's
not
drama,
show this?
man. It's drama.
Oh, people
It's a
love
story.
that shit.
It's
It's a story.
It's
And
entertainment,
the
no
more
matter
you
how you
know
paint
about
it.
somebody, I can't watch
That's
him
it.
fight.
That's it.
Because I get too nervous, right? Because he's my boy. So
It's like sitting
That's what it's all
shotgun.
about.
I can't take it. And I feel like the UFC needs to embrace the fact that their fighters are who people are going to tune. They have to make stars of their fighters, not make the UFC. It's just a difference in
Yeah,
philosophy.
but there's also, what if the star becomes too big? He can start asking what he wants. I think that's why they're afraid of. Well, how was it in horse driving?
Well, you
Are
know
they
what?
stars?
I tell you, I think it's a lot because the other sports I cover, horse racing is one of them, and I see we've talked about this before. I think it's very similar to jockeys and fighters in this regard. Number one, they're the only two athletes that have to worry about weight. You're overweight as a jockey, you don't ride, which means you don't get paid.
Right.
Just like a fighter, they don't ride, they don't get paid. There's no guarantee. But the biggest deal is this: you got about 5-10% of the top jockeys that are making seven figures. They're doing well. Nobody's going to have to worry about them. Then you got a little bit of a drop-off. Maybe 15, 20% that are making good, six-figure living. Then you've got a gigantic gulf of these guys that are riding out in the middle of nowhere making nothing.
That's fighting.
Making $500 a fight, $250 and $250 maybe. Okay, and I see, and the whole point of all this is, Brian, is that, and Brendan, you know this with your football background, and everything else. Unless you have like an NBA or an NFL union where you got everybody kind of coming together, because with horse racing, with the jockeys, if you're making $1 million, you can be the most benevolent guy, but you're not going to worry too much about the guy that's only making $15,000 a year and is literally living over top of the barn. And the same with a fighter. I mean, look, if you're one of the few guys that are getting the good deals, you're probably not going to worry too much about that guy who's come in and fought four times and maybe cut.
You got enough to worry about
your own
just
thing.
your own career.
So the whole point of this being is there's such a gulf between the rich and the poor that you're not going to get a union. And eventually fighters have to have a union, and they
most
can't
new
get one.
sports, it's still in its infancy. And so it seems like the UFC and just MMA in general is going through. It's still in a lot of ways in its infancy, or at least its adolescence. And so time will tell.
Guys, it's tough. I mean, like Cummins takes a fight, and it's a great story. Dana White calls him, and he answers, and he gets fired from his job, and he's stepping in. But how many occupations do you not have somebody, not even an agent, say at least a manager or a good friend? You say, hey, can you help me out? Can you read the contract? I don't know if he did or not.
Yeah.
I hope all you guys get good contracts. You should, because none of the rest of us want to get in there and look across at you hitting us in the face. So I don't know if I don't know really.
How were you compensated, Bas?
You know what? It's almost a shame to say. When I went to the UFC, the whole tournament was 60,000. And I made 55 for a single fight at that time.
55,000,
which was a lot.
It was a lot of money at the time, because what happened was I like Maurice Smith, Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, Guy Metzger, Takahashi for the jiu-jitsu guy from Brazil. They all won, and they became champions. And I beat those guys in Japan. So they said, "Hey, why don't you come over to America and try to fight there?" Wow. So that's how it came. Actually, Ken, I didn't. Ken has the wins over me. I could never rectify that 2 times even. So,
was it?
But the last time we had him on the show, we asked him why was there never a third fight. He says because he was growing way too fast with the submission skills.
May I interrupt? May I jump in quickly, because Kim pointed out quickly, said I didn't really want the third fight with Bas, because Bas was rapidly improving, and I'm smart enough. And he is. I'm smart enough to know I'm quitting. I'm quitting while I'm ahead.
I heard the guys in Pride like Crow Cop, Fedor. I heard those guys were making serious bank.
Serious, $2 million.
Really?
We're talking cash, yeah.
Do you think they were? I mean, I heard the story, but
I heard they were. I heard they were.
$2 million.
I heard they were.
Because I think they probably think all you guys, the guys out there that are tweeting verse and all that, they probably think all you guys are making tons of money right now in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, and some of us do.
Card,
I mean, I make good money. However, but I heard like Fedor, Crow Cop, we're talking serious bucks there. But then I also heard a lot of times that they wouldn't get paid.
Yeah.
No, they that was more at the
like
K1.
Overeem says he still hasn't been paid from his K1 days.
That's K1, and that
obviously
was
it's different. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, they.
We never had any jobs where nobody paid us, did we?
I'll tell you what, man.
Never did any.
I was almost going to fight for $350,000 against Vanderlei at the time.
Oh my God.
I was just training, and I started Thai boxing, and everything went so hard. And I have friends that they couldn't hold the focus, the Thai bets anymore. I go, man, I'm getting in shape. And then suddenly the opponent from Vanderlei was gone, and that was that big show, 91,500 people, K1 and Pride together. So there was a kickboxing match, Pride match, kickboxing.
Was that in the Tokyo Dome?
No, that was in the open freaking
91,000 people
outside.
Bas versus Wanderlei. God, were you kidding me?
I know, but what happened was this. I said, listen, I didn't train for 3 years on the ground. I said, but wait, since it's K1 also involved, everybody wants to see this anyway. Why don't Vanderlei and I put on Pride gloves and we do Thai boxing? I said, that's what they want to see anyway.
Bas Rutten.
Why did this happen?
Any more questions about Bas Rutten?
Yeah.
That
would have been fun.
Greatest fight that never happened.
The second time I ever went to Japan, I'm with him. And I know you've worked all these famous people, these actors and all. I'm walking with Bas. It's like being with George Clooney and Brad Pitt and everybody. I mean, honestly, we were walking down this little alley And I thought we were lost. I knew where we were going in Tokyo. And at least 7 or 8 people, I don't even know where they're coming from. They're like rappelling. They're coming down.
It's like Tom Cruise status.
I mean, honestly, they're jumping out.
But see,
they're
let me
jumping
say-
out of the little stores
That's
and,
how
and
it should
hugging
be.
Yeah,
That's how it should be. You should be way more impressed with a guy like Bas Rutten than you are with a guy who makes believe as an actor. I'm sorry. It's awesome that you like this actor because they make believe that they are a guy like him in real life.
Do you get stopped in L.A., Buzz? Do you get
You
stopped
know
a lot?
now a lot, and you know what? The fun is
All
that
the
now
time.
from
All
the
the time,
10
I know.
times.
Everyone knows Buzz.
Yeah, but from the 10 times, it's let's say 5 times from the movie. Here comes the boom. 3 times from Inside MMA, and 2
YouTube
times
video.
from fighting.
What about the YouTube?
Oh, dude,
the YouTube,
I've been
the
oversteered.
pow!
People go like, "Hey, Bas Rutten, go daggity, daggity, daggity." I go daggity, daggity, yeah.
It's from his YouTube. How many hits has it had? It's huge.
Oh, millions. And they
Millions
took
of
one
hits.
off.
Everybody.
One was at like
You know that.
9 million.
Oh
the
my
other
God!
was at 8.
Everyone knows that video.
I mean, that's why the
funny.
show's been successful.
For sure.
The show would never been successful if they'd brought in.
It was hilarious.
With all there's other guys that could have done a nice job, but if we didn't have Boss doing the show, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have made it. It wouldn't have been in 7 years.
If you had a son,
combination.
if you had a son, you think you would train him to be a fighter?
Yeah, I would. But you know what? It's like my daughters. I want my daughters to know how to fight, but they don't want it. So, I try to reverse psychology. Don't do it. Do it. But
Doesn't work.
You're right,
Doesn't work.
Dad. You're right, Dad. We're not going to do it.
They're like, all right, I'm good.
I heard a rumor, and that there was a group of guys that impressed you with their physical prowess, and I heard that you trained SEAL Team 6. Is that true?
I cannot go into that. I trained the elite special forces. I can say that.
Yeah, and you were impressed with their ability to do some pretty crazy things.
They are the most in shape guys I've ever seen in my life.
Dang.
There's not a fighter that comes to it that I know of. Like a Dwayne would be really in shape. Mark Hominick, let me tell you this story. I have a hill next to my house. I can run it up at that time 2 times, which is, it's a big hill. With my weight. This was when I stopped fighting. This was way later in my career. But still, I would beat the fighters there, always. Mark Hominick got the record, but it was 135 pounds. He ran it 4 times. So that was already crazy. And then when the SEALs came, I started training those guys. And we go to the hill. We let them run up. They come down. They do 3 minutes of the boss with the workout, with the combinations on each other's gloves. It's really hard. And they have to go back up. I stopped them at 7.
Stop them.
Stopped them because I thought somebody's going to die. They change formation the whole time. The fittest guy goes to the front automatically, and they just go to it. And whatever I tell them, when I say, and 5, 4, 3, they turn it up. Like every other fight goes 5, 4, 3, they go 5, 4, okay, time. And they were actually the guys who come, and they say before a workout, they say, try to see if you can get us tired today.
Wow.
I go, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's it doesn't.
I love it.
Not fun to be a terrorist, dude.
No, heck no.
No,
Good luck
it's
with that.
Partying hard and training hard. Like you come in, they've been drinking.
Yeah.
And I love this. Like I'm a guy, when I train, I say 8 o'clock, I will be there 8 o'clock. If I see there's traffic, I'll leave earlier. All my friends always say, yeah, but if I'm 5 minutes late, I say leave 5 minutes earlier. I mean, if 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock. Those guys, yes, military. You come in, 8 o'clock, everybody has their gloves on. You wouldn't notice a thing. They go, whatever you want to say, whatever you want them to do, they do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I
really
love
interesting.
that.
I know.
I love
That's that discipline. I'm always late. I'm chronically late. I'm 15 to 20 minutes late. So there it is. You know why? Because I can.
Good day.
Because I can.
Because
The party starts when Brian gets in.
Yeah. Can't wait to go brag about hanging out with you guys. Thanks for joining us, man.
Pleasure.
Ken,
Thank you. We've had a
Bas,
good time.
Fighter and the Kid, Bas Rutten, Kenny Rice.
What a blast. Will you guys come and have some food with us?
You know what? My wife is sick, and it's Valentine's Day. I'm going to jump.
It's Valentine's Day, Brian.
By the way,
Leave him alone.
Boss looks like a giant heart. He's got a purple shirt on.
Look at this guy.
He's
Look
got
at
a
this
tapered
guy.
waist and broad shoulders,
Look
and
at
you
this guy.
built a little bit like a big purple heart.
You know what? I sometimes wear pink shirts, and my daughters always go, "Real men wear pink shirts."
Dude, you
That's
get
right. That's right.
You've got about as much feminine energy as that rock over there. It's not,
I met a guy one time. He says you can't put him him in a pink tutu with a lollipop. And
He's-
still-
No, still
It's
not
like,
gonna
it's
be
like
hilarious.
Boss. If two men had a baby, nobody knows this. But Boss's parents are two very hairy big guys, and they spit out the Dutch killer.
I came out. I don't know where I came out then, but I came out. I just what the? I pushed myself out, go into a handstand.
When he cried when they pulled him out of the womb, he was most babies were like. Eh. When Boss got it, he was like. He lost his hair when he was 4 years old. He had male pattern baldness at 4. That's it.
Spider the Kid, we're out.